Throughout her career, Ann Sothern has been seen in no fewer than 67 films. And then she turned to television, you remember, and created 2 enduring comedy series, Private Secretary and The Ann Sothern Show. The other day, she was here with her daughter, Tisha Sterling, who is already well on her way to her own acting career. And I asked the 2 of these about mother-daughter relationships. Ann said they used to fight like hell, but then added that they get along pretty well now. And I went on to inquire about the problem of a famous mother and the competition with a younger actress on her way up.
How did you cope with that, Tisha?
I didn't.
You
I didn't for a long time.
Well, it didn't mangle you. I mean, hopelessly.
Well, it just gave me a lot of insecurities, I think, when I was little, and an identity crisis, which I kind of overcame because of my work. I went to work as an actress when I was 16, and because of that, and I tried purposely not to ever use my mother, you know, to
she
further
wouldn't
my
ask me
career.
anything. I wouldn't even know what she was doing.
Well, and with a different name, it probably helps. Where a son of a father having the same name, that creates more of a show.
Well, my father was an actor, too.
Yeah, of course, but I mean, as Tisha Sterling, you weren't a junior edition of Ann Sothern, and that probably was a help, because your name was on your own.
Sometimes, not always.
You don't think so?
I think sometimes I was. You know, people expect
you would be
more
conscious
from
of the
you.
fact that because your father was an actor that you...
No, because they knew I was her daughter. I think because when I was very young, we did a lot of things together, so people associated.
What was so hard for Tisha was every time she was with me as a child, everyone would always say, "Oh, is this your beautiful daughter?" They'd always say. And it was never, "Is this Tisha? Is this Patricia?"
the identity.
It was just terrible for her, you see.
Right.
I lived so. I'm not
She lived
suffering.
through it.
Well, you've lived through a lot, actually, because I know, well, you've had your share of accidents and
Oh, my word.
illness and whatnot.
Well, just recently, though, in the last 3 years.
Well, now what, you've risen above that, and how,
Well,
tell us
yes.
about the broken back.
Well, in the theater, you know, I go out sometimes in the theater, because I think the theater gets you together as an actress. And in this play, the ceiling was supposed to collapse, and the opening night, it's held up by a huge pole. It's like a tree, almost, you know, and they triggered it at the wrong time, and it fell just like a tree in the forest. And I was on my stomach in the play, and my back was to it. I tell you, I would have escaped it somehow.
Yeah, you didn't see
but
it.
it just fell on me and hit me full blast right on my back.
And broke it.
Well, it was pretty bad. And so I've been on a cane until about 4 months ago.
But you got loose from that.
Finally. And now I'm going back to the theater because that's the toughest thing you can do.
Is to go back after you've been out. Well,
It's the toughest thing you can do
I
if
think
you've
it's a tough-
been in or out, I think.
as this goes on the air, I think if my dates are right, you will be preparing for a show for Drury Lane Theater in Chicago.
But I'm not sure when this is going to be broadcast, but we open in Chicago February 7th.
February 7th, you will,
And it's a
you
new
will have
play,
opened.
Hugh.
The play is going on. What is the play?
It's a new play, so we're trying out, and I think it has an awfully good chance. It's called The Duchess of Pasadena.
Oh, it's a cute play.
And it's George Tibbles has written it, and he's written some very good plays. And it's a story of a lady that's indomitable.
The Duchess of Pasadena, I like that. Tisha, on the health matter, you have triumphed over a health difficulty, and I don't know whether you've talked about that before.
I've never talked about it before.
Would you be willing to now? The only reason for bringing this up is it is important to our viewers and to all of us to have the inspiration of somebody who has risen above it. Tell us what the
I was
problem
just very lucky, I think. Oh, I had cancer of the lymph glands, and I had a year to live. The
They said a
doctor
year to
told
live?
me I had a year to live.
The prognosis was a year.
I had an operation, but so I had the operation, and so far so good. Everything's all right.
And how long ago was it?
A year ago.
A year ago? Well, you're still alive, so that's
Well, look at it.
proof that
That's
you-
marvelous.
That's proof
it's
that
an
you've
absolute
beaten that.
miracle, Hugh.
Yeah.
She's
That's
just
right.
I'm doing
marvelous.
really well.
How do you feel all right now?
I feel fine.
You feel fine? You sure look fine.
I never really felt that I was terribly ill. When I was told that I was going to die, I never really accepted. It's very difficult for somebody tells you, you know,
I
you're
would
going
think
to
so.
die. You can't really
I don't know.
relate to it. I only related to it in moments.
As
you
if
know.
it was it was happening to someone else.
Well-
Except I was the one it was happening to. It almost killed me.
Yeah, I think that would be a
Oh.
really heavy piece of news.
Oh, terrible, terrifying, devastating.
It must be harder for somebody else, because it wasn't really difficult on me. I thought it was, I looked at it as not really being me, but it was kind of interesting because it gives you a very amazing choice, you know, of life or death.
Yes, I would think. That would sure rearrange your thinking, wouldn't it?
Uh-huh.
It has.
Wow.
It has. But she had what was known as melanoma, Hugh, and with the young, it's very virulent. And it's from 1 to 10, and she was a 9+. Suddenly, all this just happened to her, you see. So we had some wonderful, wonderful men that took care of her. And at the UCLA hospital is the greatest center for melanoma there is.
Well, they must have done a good job, and maybe your will to carry on had something to do with it.
Oh, I'm sure it did.
Well, congratulations on that, and thanks for telling us about it. And you had, after the split with Robert Sterling, you elected not to remarry. And doesn't it take a special kind of courage not to remarry?
Not after that.
Not after that? You decided not to do that?
That cured me for all time.
Now, you've been interested in lots of things. You have a lot of other
Oh,
activities.
I could have married many times.
Oh, I realize that.
But I just elected, I'd rather not.
Decided you wouldn't. But you've had a lot of other activities besides acting. In addition to doing, more than 5 dozen films and all kinds of stage work and everything, you've painted.
I've played everything but rodeos, Hugh.
Everything, is that right? Yeah. Do you have the same versatility of interests, Tisha? Do you like to do a lot of different
I love to do. I'm a dancer. I dance almost. When I don't work, I dance.
Right.
Go to classes.
Now that's something.
I have to keep busy. I've got so much energy, and I get real destructive if I don't do something.
So you need an outlet for that.
Yeah.
Right. Do you look ahead? Do you tend to plan your life at all, or do you just take each day as it comes?
I should plan more. I tend not to plan. I hate to plan ahead.
You don't like to. So
No.
Did you plan your life, or do you still planning your life ahead?
She's a big planner.
When you're at Tisha's age, do you have an idea of what you might do later on when?
No, none. Well, I never had time to be anything but an actress. You see, I started when I was 16, and I never stopped working. Yeah. It's only in these last 3 years that I stopped working. So suddenly I sat down and said, well, who am I?
You didn't really stop anyway. You paused.
I know, that's all. But I kept busy. I paint. I go to cooking school. I always wondered why all those cooks were so darn temperamental. I finally found out.
Well, I'm trying it yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
And let's see, what else do I do, Tisha?
You write.
And writing?
Right. And, well, I'm just...
She's written a lot of scripts lately. Outlines for screenplays.
Are you doing outline plays? Good luck on all of that. It's really, really pleasant. It's really great to meet you, too, because as a fan, I can say that I've been a fan of yours.
Well, I've been a fan of yours always, Hugh.
I hope you'll come back.
Thank you.
Thank you for introducing me to Tisha also. Good luck to you, Tisha.
Thank you.
She's beautiful.
She is indeed. You both are. Thank you. Ann Sothern, Tisha Sterling. Our thanks to Ann and Tisha, who both obviously have a lot to offer to each other, as well.